Okay, you guys, so welcome to another customs video. This one is going to be slightly unconventional for just a moment, just to show you what I'm working on. What does that button do? Here is the Armada Deluxe Optimus Prime, but the plan is to turn this thing, combine this thing with the Earthrise or Siege or whatever Ironworks to make an actual Ironworks that turns into a truck. Oh man, this is terrible. So apologies for the sloppy desk. I'm kind of working on a lot of stuff. There's stuff for my job, and then here is a basketball that I've painted, and then here are some other pieces of artwork that I've made. Anyway, here's Ironworks. His head fits in there rather well, but I'm gonna have to do some work on it just to make it fit properly because the post is weird. And then here are all the leftovers, and then here are the weapons. Yeah, this thing, I'm very, very excited about this thing, but it is going to take a little bit of doing. And as you can see, the armature, the hook crane armature, fits on Prime's Minicon port just perfectly. But yeah, this is gonna be great. This is gonna turn out really cool. On to the next step. So once again, we begin the sacred deconstruction process, and as always, I recommend that you guys film the process, because as simple as this transformer is, you still may need to go back and look to see how it was put together. And luckily this is an older transformer, so a lot of it is held together by screws and friction joints. So it was very easy to deconstruct the entire thing. The only thing that I wasn't able to deconstruct was the kind of wrist gauntlets. I wish that I had been able to take the actual fists out of the cages, the wrist cages that they're in, but it ends up not really being a problem, so it's fine. I was also kind of worried about the Minicon port section in the cab itself, because there were springs and armatures and things like that. But when I took the chest apart, the whole contraption is actually pent up, built up in one piece. So all you have to do is remove it and put it back, and it stays together. So moving on now, here are all the paints that I use, kind of. There's the primer, and then I have a satin black for the pants of the figure. And then that gloss sunbeam was the yellow that I had, but I actually end up using a different yellow that I may or may not show later on in the video. That is a closer yellow to the actual crane arm from Ironworks. Right now, obviously, I'm taking some tape and just taping up the wheels, doing a little bit of prep work, and so that's that. So I'm starting out with the legs first, and here everything is raised up on the alligator clip stand things, and there is everything primed. So I'm going to let that sit a bit so that it cures properly, and you also just want to make sure that this is sanded as well, so you have a little bit of extra grip on the plastic. And speaking of sandpaper, there it is. And the grit that you want to use is a fine grit, so I roughly 120, 150, somewhere in there. So I had to do a little modification to the head, in that I had to cut out the back, just because the ball joint on the Optimus Prime figure is angled, and it's because of that angle it gets in the way of the head movement, and the head would actually sit as if it were looking down. It wouldn't be able to look straight. So I just took a little saw that you saw there and cut that bit out and sanded it down, and now it should fit on the ball joint just about perfectly. And here I am just putting the head back together, making sure that I don't need to cut any more off, and just checking to see if it actually aided the articulation. And yeah, it worked perfectly well, exceptionally well, if I don't mind myself saying so. Meanwhile, I went ahead and gave the legs the Rolling Stones treatment and painted them black. I also went ahead and primed up the waist pieces, the hip pieces as well as the chest, because they are going to be painted gray. And I'm also painting the thighs gray as well, so I went ahead and waited till the paint cured and waited a couple of days and then taped up the black of the lower parts of the legs, and so I can, just paint everything all at once. And there everything is in that really nice gloss gray. Now, the idea behind it was to match the gray, the kind of gunmetal gray that exists on the head sculpt. If I'm not mistaken, I do go and dry brush some metallic silver on the gray parts, but I suppose we will get to that later on. Excuse me for not remembering at this moment. But right now we are doing some prep work to paint the torso yellow. So we're giving everything a nice sanding down, and then we're also going to tape up these wheels as well. Again, using that same fine grit sandpaper. Not enough to really do any damage to the plastic, but just enough to give it a little bit of texture so that the paint can actually, grip on it a little bit better, because a smooth plastic isn't going to hold paint as well. Now, I didn't film this process, but I did use a matte finish on the lower legs of the figure. And I'm going to apply that same finish to the torso as well, once that is all said and painted. Okay, so here is like most of the torso primed. I still have to do the arms, but we'll do those in a second. And then here is also the paint that I found. The satin, what is that? Harvest Peach yellow. It's yellow. But it matches the crane pretty dang well, surprisingly well. But yeah, that's what I'm going to end up painting the thing. And there it is in all of its beautiful glory. Obviously, the problem here was that for some reason there were a bunch of little paint bubbles that got popped around the edges of the thing. Now, I've generally found that to be a problem with yellow paint in particular, just because yellow paint tends to be really thin, but this paint was really thick too, so I had to give it a couple of coats. It turns out okay, but I don't really know how to fix that problem. And then yes, my recollection was correct. I do in fact use a metallic gray to try to paint match the thighs and waist with the head, and I actually mix a little bit of this gunmetal gray with a little bit of that satin black just to darken it up a little bit, and it matches pretty dang well in the end. Also, I apologize, you guys, if I sound weird or if I sniffle at any point in this video. I am coming off of a big sick. One of the downsides of working with kids is that I get sick more often than I used to. So just bear with me. But anyways, yes, here is the rest of the torso all painted up, and I tried my best to cover up the blemishes, specifically on the cab section of the truck. It didn't work out exactly well, but I'm going to add a little bit of dirt and grime to the truck mode anyway to try and cover that up. But yeah, it's looking good. So now we begin, yay, the reconstruction process, and we start with the wheels. I take the tape off the wheels, and then for the leg parts specifically, the actual knee joints in the legs shift down into the calves for truck transformation, and I try to take some sandpaper and kind of thin the inner parts of the leg out so that there's more room, because obviously there's extra paint there now. I end up just making the decision to not use that sliding bit for the transformation, just because it does end up scratching some of the paint off, and I don't mind the way that the truck looks with the legs extended, so it's a trade-off. Fast forwarding a bit, here are all the legs put back together, and looking quite good. And as you can see, the silver matches almost quite well. So now moving on to some chest detail. In the robot mode of the character, he's got some like red vented like chest detail. And I wanted to try to, God, what's the word I'm trying to think of? I wanted to try to represent that. And so I'm going to tape off the grill with that wonderful orange tape that I don't know the name of still. And I'm going to use some red spray paint to affect that same kind of chest detail as the robot mode. Oh my god, this makes all the sense and none of it at the same time. I apologize, guys. Anyway, here is the red, and then here is the finished. Voila. Beauty incarnate. So now we begin on what was the most tedious part of this customization, and that is painting the windshield. Now, I thought about taping the windows off and using spray paint to do it, but I ended up just choosing the dry brushing route, using that metallic red and a mixture of the metallic red and the copper. And here is just a little sidestep of me noting the paint rubbing in the, anger, some paint rub in the waist articulation. I don't know why I didn't anticipate that, but yes, that did happen. Moving back now to the windshield, I guess I also painted the headlights yellow and bumper silver again. But moving back to the window, it took me several passes to get the just to get the layers to be completely opaque and not super streaky. It took a long time, but it turned out looking all right. And there's the grill all dried as well. And I also used that same mixture of red and copper on the visor so that it would match a little bit. And I'm watching Transformers Cybertron, yay! So now we begin the rest of the reconstruction process, and I'm going to try to speed this up as much as I can with the footage still being coherent. So here we go. So I guess in the meantime, how's everybody's summer going? I hope everyone's doing well. If you're an adult, I'm sorry that you don't really have a summer vacation, unless you're a teacher. If you're a kid, then enjoy your summer vacation while you can. Hope you guys are, enjoying the heat outside, or the rain. If it's raining, maybe you enjoy the rain. I think that's pretty great. Yeah, I'm on summer vacation now. We just got done with June and July camp, so now I'm in August free time, and it's pretty nice, just like this figure. So yes, here is Ironworks all put back together, and now comes the time of adding a few little extra details. Now in the DreamWorks, in the Dreamwave like photographs, and also on the toy, he has one smokestack, but they are on either side of the truck. They're on completely opposite sides. I decide to use 2 smokestacks, leveraged from the Revenge of the Fallen Mixmaster. Now there's a little bit of modification that goes in here. I end up clipping off those little ball joints, and I also steal the ladder off of the back of Mixmaster as well, that I'm going to put on the back of the truck and then the side of the hip skirt. So yeah, here's just me mulling over all the different options I have using the different various pieces. Always a good thing to do when you are presented with a lot of possibilities. It is okay to take your time and plan out what you want to do for your future. So I sanded down the smokestacks, and now I'm going to take some super glue against my better judgment and preference, and I'm going to try my damnedest to glue them to like the edge of the back of the truck mode, just because that's where they seem to sit best. It was tedious. It was a pain in the butt, and I had to apply and reapply the glue, especially on the first one, and I had to hold it there forever, just because super glue, although it is quick drying, when you use a lot of it, it is not quick drying. So you have to be very patient with using it. But here is generally how the truck is going to look, and I will find that even though they are stuck on, the glue is still not dry, because in the meantime, later on, I've found that the arm was actually glued in place by the glue on the smokestack. It's a mess, y'all. I hate super glue so much. But now we're trying to figure out what to do with the ladder, and I end up cutting the thing in half using my trusty little Stanley knife. I'm going to put half of it on the back of the truck between the smokestacks, and then the other half on the hip skirt, just for fun. So yeah, here is Ironworks pretty much finished, y'all, and just adding the final touch of this crane arm, and it came out beautifully. And I did lie, we do have one more step left in this customization, and that is adding the dirt and scuffage to try and add a little bit of extra detail to this thing, and also to, what am I doing there? Oh, I'm taking some sandpaper. I'm rolling up some sandpaper to make some room for the extra paint that is on that Minicon port now. So it's not a bad idea, but also that Minicon port is hardly ever going to get seen ever again. So not a huge deal. Anyway, on to the dirty bits in a second. But first, we're going to take this here Posca marker and we're going to add a little bit of detail to the headlights. Specifically, the headlights are already white. I'm just going to put a little dot of yellow in the center of each of the little headlight squares, and just to add a little bit of extra. And then the Minicon port up top, I wasn't really sure what to do with it to begin with, but I ended up painting it orange, and now I'm adding a little bit of that yellow to it as well, to make it look like a sort of spinning caution light on like a tow truck or something. Yeah, that was a neat little touch in my opinion. So, busting out my supply of leftover repro labels, I decided to look through them and see if there was anything from any previous set that I thought I might want to add to this. Specifically, I was looking at these sort of like caution stripe stickers, and then also like any sort of like bumper sticker-esque type things. I end up not applying any of them except for some tail lights. And then, of course, I do apply an Autobot sticker onto the hood. So now we begin the dirtying up of the figure, and I pulled out that copper for any rust kind of detail that I might want, and then I also have just this flat brown that I generally use for like dirt and mud and that sort of thing. And I'm just dry brushing this on. I take a brush, generally a brush that is kind of decrepit and wiry. You want to wipe off most of the paint that you put on it, and then you just want to lightly go over your surface. And this is a technique that I apply to the entire figure because I wanted the whole thing to look dirty and used. Because that's also just kind of Ironworks' character. He's a construction worker and an artist, and in my headcanon, he is stranded in the woods. So naturally, he's going to get all sorts of scuffed up and filthy. But here is the man himself, and oh my god, I could not be happier with how this figure turned out. Literally from my mental image brought into reality. I love this character, and this is just incredible to me. Anyways, yes, here's the truck mode. Again, just singing my own praises here, but I love it. I think it looks fantastic. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy this custom as well. Feel free to make your own. I hope you guys feel inspired to do so at any rate, and just stay creative, y'all. Please enjoy these photos and have a good day.